I get up, no, 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 I get up, no, no, can't deny it.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Patrik Juranek, and I'm founder and CEO of Startup Disrupt. And it's my pleasure to welcome you right now at this amazing online conference, which we are right now holding here, and which will be more about how to unleash the power of startups in Germany. This is one of our really favorite formats, and we are really excited that we can share it today with our top VCs, other professionals, speakers, founders, the guys who are really on the top of everything what you need to understand if you would like to start a business from scratch in Germany, or even if you would like to come from abroad and expand into Germany. And it wouldn't be possible for us to organize events like this without our partners and sponsors, people who are supporting us through this journey, like CzechInvest, Grow with Google, Born Digital, and much more. So right now, I would like to pass the word to Pavel Chovanec from CzechInvest, who would like to give us his welcome speech for today's session. So Pavel, the stage is yours.
Yeah, hello, thank you very much. Hello, and thank you for the invitation. I'm really pleased to be here and to provide a word of introduction. In my presentation, I would share very briefly some nature of the market, or I would say brief comparison of the Czech and German market regarding the startups. So, sorry, do you see the presentation?
No, Pavel, you need to again just share the screen and it should work.
Yeah.
So once more.
Super. Do you see it now?
Yeah, now it's working.
Yeah, fine. So, just to summarize briefly the market, or compare the Czech and German market for startups. When Czechs search in Germany or go to Germany, they usually go to the biggest European market, for the rich market that doesn't represent only B2C segment, but also very big business-to-business segment that opens for also for industrial application. What's also very attractive is the presence of the corporate venture funds, like the venture funds of the big digital houses like Funke, or big chemical companies like BASF. Also in Germany, in comparison to the Czech Republic, is perceived a little bit easier access to capital than in the Czech Republic. Also, Börse Frankfurt could be an ideal place for initial public offering, but at this point, I must really say that unfortunately, any Czech company was so far able to manage it, and all the IPOs, or Czech IPOs, especially the big IPOs of Avast or AVG in past, has been unfortunately made in New York or in London, but we still hope that the time for the IPO in Frankfurt comes. When the Germans search in the Czech Republic, they usually look for the talents, especially programmers, and definitely for the lower cost base for the operations, or eventually for a specific environment or collaboration with a specific investment fund. On this point, we can mention the biggest Czech venture fund, that's Invent Capital by ČEZ, who invested into the big Sonnenbatterie company, which is at the moment after exit and has been acquired by the Shell Corporation. And also, we recommend the Czech Republic as a starting point for EU expansion because of the geographic proximity. Here, I would like to briefly summarize the biggest international transactions done with the German funds or German targets and German startups in 2020. You can see that the biggest transaction has been the transaction of Nucom, that has took over the US Media Group, what was more or less transaction of the dating service in the value of $500 million US dollars. Then there are many international transactions with the French and German targets, eventually Canadian or Israeli one. On this point, I would like to also focus on the size of the Czech-German technology transactions in the year of 2020. When you would really will fit these transactions into the overall summary, you can see that Integromat would be the sixth biggest cross-border transaction in the venture capital. In fact, it was the startup focused on programming something what could be called as internet glue, and has been acquired by the German fund Celonis for 92.5 million euros. What's very interesting with this company is that this company has been the part of the Czech Accelerator program, and in 2018 has been with CzechInvest in Silicon Valley to test the market, but finally they decided to grow with the German partner. What was about the next transactions? There is like acquisition of the VHS hosting services by German Contabo, or the initial round or pre-seed round that has been done by Superface. Where they found investors and funding for 1.3 million million euros. It has been the German transaction supported also by two Czech co-investors. The market goes also on the opposite way when the Czechs search the targets into Germany. As an example, we can mention here the transaction of the MEFs that has bought the German base 7 booking. In that time, this company has been owned by Trivago. In the end, I would like to conclude my brief word of introduction with some very short tips how to succeed in Germany. As the German is a big market, be always ready for comparison with the solutions that you have never heard about so far. Because I would say diversity and the variance of the technology solutions is here really big, or quite, I would say, broad. And also learn a little bit about the regulation on the local market, because it's quite mature market, quite stable and old market that's always connected with some necessary regulation, even in the IT branches. And definitely what always makes life easier is to find a partner with whom you will grow. Regarding CzechInvest, in the end, at the moment we are running about 5 supportive programs, then 2 programs linked with the European Space Agency that are dedicated to startup support too, and very, I would say, informative platform, Czech Startups org, where are some information from the local environment and also the highlights and the news from Germany. That's from my side everything, and thank you for the invitation once again. If you have any questions, please reach me. We will try to answer them as fast as possible with, I would say, the highest information value as it's possible too.
So good evening once more to all of you guys, and welcome to today's Unleash the Power of Startups in Germany. And it's my pleasure to welcome here all our speakers who are right now together with me here and who can share their best practices and knowledge and experience, something what will really can help you in terms of succeeding in the German market. So I would like to welcome here Jan, Hendrik, Elena, and Anna, who will be right now for the first part of the event here together with us. So guys, maybe please, could you just briefly introduce yourself, just a few words, who you are, let's say, what is your added value to the all German startup ecosystem, so all our attendees can understand, and maybe why they would should reach out to you, maybe even afterwards in the future after this whole event is done. So Jan?
Yeah, my name is Jan Martens. I'm in the sales for quite a long time, since 20 years and more. I've been with several companies in the management of sales, and especially in corporate and telco sales.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Hendrik? I guess Hendrik may be a bit stuck with the picture, so let's wait a sec. Anna?
Hello, I'm Anna. I'm CEO and founder of UNAI. UNAI is a B2B software solution for the fashion industry. We are analyzing fashion data and shortening design processes to only something.
Okay, thank you. Great to have you here. Elena?
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. Glad to be here and share whatever I have learned so far in the startup ecosystem. So I've been in Berlin for 6 years now, almost seven in January, actually. And I'm, I would say, an ecosystem builder. I've been in the tech. Since I moved to Berlin, I've been in between the tech and the startup world, and I run a media company called Economy Media, which writes everything around data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and with a big focus on AI startups. And we also have a big conference that until recently, before Corona, was taking place offline, Data Natives, and now returning again in March. So I would say that because of our positioning and the fact that we are part of the tech ecosystem and the latest trends and developments in technology, we have also a very good network with investors and a lot of learnings, also personally for me as a founder, and as well of the startup ecosystem. Thanks.
Thank you, Elena. Great to have you here. And last but not least, our VC guy from the Early Bird Ventures, Hendrik. So Hendrik, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Hendrik. I'm actually an aerospace engineer by training. Spent my first professional career in aircraft development. I was actually working for MBB, which is now part of Airbus. Next phase was intermediate step in business consulting at McKinsey before I co-founded Earlybird. This is already, unfortunately, 24 years back. And since then, I'm in the venture industry, which is not only my profession, but also my passion. I think we have invested in the last 24 years in up to 200 startups all over Europe, but with a certain emphasis on German-speaking countries because of our origination. But over the years, we have become increasingly pan-European, and that is also our ambition. So Earlybird is currently in its most recent fund generation, investing out of a generation of 900 million euros, and we are covering health tech as well as digital tech from seed to growth.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Hendrik. Great to have you here. So, and as all our panel is actually calling like how to succeed as a startup in Germany, and basically all of you guys are in some, let's say, chief executive role or even the founder or co-founder, I would like to start with a question to Elena and Anna. Like, why did you decide to become a founder? Because it's really a tough job. So Anna, why you decided to become a founder?
I'm actually I was always working as a freelancer, so I never was an employee. So I was a founder my whole life. And when I founded my fashion label, I recognized that's all manual work. I was searching for technologies. I couldn't find anything, so I went back to university to study business economics, and then our company came up.
Okay, so you mentioned that you started. This is actually really like often case that many people are like freelancing. They are already on their own, and after they are starting their company. So I think this is one of the cases. But how is it on your side, Elena? Like, have you started similar way, like from the freelancing to become a founder? You know, creating amazing projects. You know, within the Germany. So what is your journey?
Well, I would say, even though I agree with Anna, actually, first step to even become a founder is freelancing, because that's sort of like autonomy and pretty much discipline to be able to deliver on projects and to be your own boss essentially, and to put structure in what you do and to be responsible of how you're taking care of your finances. But I would say in my case, it was both coincidental, but also in a way that it was Berlin that led me to it. So, and since we're talking about Germany and about the startup ecosystem here, I also like to highlight that. So from my side, I did study business economics as my first degree. But I was taking a completely different route. I was mainly involved in creative and art projects as a curator and a writer, always self-starter and self-driven. So this is like the third project that I started myself. And then I came to Berlin, and Berlin, like somehow the startup ecosystem and the tech ecosystem was booming, very inspiring, a lot of ideas, a lot of things happening. And somehow, because of all of this and because of the growth that I still see in Berlin, I felt very motivated to take the lead. I met a lot of interesting people, and with data economy and how the data science landscape is pretty much changing and shaping everything. I guess this was also a big factor for me specifically to become a founder in Germany. So I would say that on one hand, it's for sure something that it was always intrinsically in me, and something that I could see myself as a self-starter. I wanted to do stuff myself and putting like it being more innovative and putting my own, let's say, spin to it. But for sure, Berlin was a big factor, and especially meeting like exciting and interesting entrepreneurs like Anna. We've had the chance to actually meet in person. So it's a great ecosystem to be in.
Yeah, it sounds that even both of your journeys started like the solitaires, you know, on the market who are starting to from your own. But I would like to as well ask our gentlemen in the panel, because Jan, you have quite successful career, you know, in different companies, even for the companies who are abroad of the Germany. So what is your view like about the business, you know, in Germany, and why you decided to stay there, you know, and do business there? Instead, for example, you know, to travel abroad and start your career, you know, abroad.
Yeah, in the past, I've been working abroad a lot, but based out of Germany mainly. I was traveling quite far all over the world, but especially the German market is different than most of the other markets, because it's a very closed market, because the companies who are buying IT equipment or IT software are mainly stuck to one or maybe two vendors who supply the infrastructure to them. So it's, especially in Germany, it's quite difficult without a network or partner to really go into the market, and therefore it's really important to have the network and the knowledge what exactly is needed in that market. And as you've previously, and a few minutes before, you said that they compared the software, especially in Germany. There are quite a lot of different solutions in the same area, and they compare them. And if you come from a different country, especially from a eastern country, it's even more difficult to convince the people that the quality is the same. And I experience the quality is sometimes even better than a German quality, to convince them somehow that this is a product which they need. And so I find that the German market is, compared to French, one of the most difficult markets currently in the EU.
Hendrik, from your perspective, I would really like to hear as well your experience, because as you mentioned, you are on the top of one of the really successful VC fund, and you as well have some kind of investment not only in Germany but in Finland, in France, in other markets as well. So, what is your idea about the German market with the startups, with the investment? What is your view on that?
Yeah, I think what intrinsically makes a market interesting for a tech investor is the level of innovation and creative entrepreneurs. I think in that regard, our market has changed dramatically in the most recent years, and I think it has improved a lot. And I do see enormous potential to come, to be honest. I think we have only started to develop what would be possible in the future. And I must also say that we as investors have and still are underperforming with respect to the appropriate support of the creativity within the entrepreneur groups. And I think it is overdue that German VC investors are growing to a size which bring them on a level playing field to international investors. Even though we are probably the largest investor in Germany and one of the largest in Europe, we're still regrettably small in global dimensions. And this is something which I think has negative impact on what the economy will be able to produce in terms of disruptive and breakthrough companies. Because at the end of the day, the initiation is the idea, the breakthrough technology, but then you need the fuel in order to develop this to a global leading entity, and therefore you need capital. Yeah, the fuel is capital, and the predicament under which we are acting is that our funds still remain too small. Even for early bird, they still remain too small. Yeah? If one would be in a situation to manage a 3 billion fund, you can easily make bold bets of 30 to 50 million without risking the economics of the fund. If the fund is a third of it or a fifth of it, your respective justifiable commitments are respectively smaller, and that has then the impact on likelihood for success for the young entrepreneurs and the new companies, which I think is regrettable. That said, I should not complain too much because the momentum is great, and we have seen a phenomenal growth of capital available over the last years. I'm just saying we are far away of not even reaching the limit, but even reaching an appropriate level in order to support the enormous creative and innovative potential within the economy. And this is why I'm fundamentally optimistic with respect to what the future will bring us and what is going to come.
Mm-hmm. So in terms, as you mentioned that right now, because of this situation, do you think that, for example, this all pandemic helped to the German startup ecosystem in terms of innovation, in terms of, I don't know, online, so many online apps, and all of those softwares were actually putting through to their sweet spot, in the first row. So how do you think it shaped all this ecosystem during the past year? Do you think it helped it? Maybe some particular sectors which were able to succeed?
I think it was definitely helpful because there's one structural difference of the German market in comparison to the other markets throughout Europe, and that is that Germany is vastly decentralized. Even though if people are claiming that Berlin is the center, and it is so, but Berlin is only accounting from, I don't know, 3 or 4% of the population. That's very much different than in other European states and countries. So since I believe that especially through the further digitization, we will increasingly see the true bottleneck for innovation are going to be the creative minds, the great entrepreneurs, the engineers, etc. So if you have a well-educated population, at the end of the day, it goes back to the number of creative minds you can reach with your ecosystem. So that said, we in the past, and actually the VCs still in the present, have been very much focused on the main hubs. In Germany, they were predominantly Berlin, and then in the second row Munich. And in France, it's Paris and London, it's Stockholm, and to some extent Barcelona, etc. What I observe is that we see a declining, or maybe decline is the wrong word, I see a rising relevance of the regions out of the hubs. And that is driven by the increased remote work, by the disconnect of physical presence. There is no need to sit together. You get your creative stimulation even through the internet and through your remote work. So you do not need to be in Berlin, in London, wherever, in order to come up with fundamental disruption. That has been different in the past. And you have also access to the best talent, because it doesn't need to be in Landshut. It can be wherever it wants to be, and it can still work for your company. So, and that has, I think, unlocked an enormous innovation potential, especially in Germany, since Germany is so much decentralized, much more decentralized than other countries. And I see it in our most recent investments. Yeah, if you look at the percentage of our investments 10 years back, we did 75% of our capital committed in the main hubs of Europe. Yeah, the ones I named before. In the last year, that figure has fallen to 50%. It's still way too much, because if you take as in comparison the share of the deep tech entrepreneurs living in the main hubs, it's only 15%. So 85% of the engineering capacity of the brilliant minds, especially not in the hubs. And by enabling them to get access to all the necessary resources, even remotely, to found a great company and to develop it, I think that has unlocked an enormous potential just recently. And if I look at the most recent investments, they have been not in Berlin, not in Munich, they're in Landshut, in Darmstadt, in Heidelberg, and wherever you. It's quite interesting. And by the way, UiPath, we identified in Bucharest. Yeah, it's for sure not a main hub. Yeah, they're coming from nowhere, and that's, I think, it's a great thing, and it supports the European level of innovation because of our decentralized structure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for this insight. I would like to right now give a word to Elena, because as we were discussing, how like the all ecosystem in Germany shaped during the past year, and as well as I mentioned, it was mentioned by Hendrik, because of all this decentralization of the regions and the country. And you were the initiator of Hack Corona. So, and I would like to ask you, because I believe that this is one of the interesting projects where all the people, maybe the public, the founders, all the people around tried to help economy to put it back, because of the pandemic. So what was your experience, with this project? Did it look like that startups really, the people from the public sector and startups really started to do something together and help to get this economy back? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Henrik. By the way, the German landscape is very much decentralized, and there's so many different hubs around Germany for different topics, like fintech, for example, in Frankfurt more, or in Munich there's more automotive and so forth. I mean, in every city there's a different center, and of course with Berlin, what it has, I think what is the attractive or the selling point is that is also relatively cheap compared to everywhere else. So young people, it attracts a lot of young people, and at the same time from around Europe and around the world, and at the same time like within a lot of innovative ideas. So as you said, Patrick, has been a difficult 1.5 years. Let's see how the future will go. Certainly remote work has been something that I've also been embracing quite a bit. You see I'm actually outside, very nice weather. I'm not currently in Berlin, where I've heard that the weather is not that great at the moment. But anyway, back to HackCorona, yes, it's been a pretty strange 1.5 years. And with HackCorona, what we try to do is bring all the people together worldwide, I mean, Europeans and worldwide, to come to find solutions against COVID-19 to begin with. And we collaborated there with a lot of partners and community partners, but also, accelerators, incubators in Berlin and beyond Germany and in Europe. And I would have to highlight here that there's a lot of interesting programs, for example, to support entrepreneurs and to support impact-driven projects. In Berlin, namely, I'm also part of the Vision Health Pioneers as a mentor, which is an accelerator program helping digital health projects. And for example, let's say a Czech, someone from Prague or somewhere everywhere from Europe can come and get into that accelerator program, and initially get some funding and working in with their idea. You don't even, I think you don't even to have a registered company. You do need to have some ties with Berlin, and I don't know exactly the logistics, but for example, anyone can come and be part of that, and that's something that is highly localized and very impact driven. But again, with HackCorona and in I would say in connection more with the other European project that we were involved with, EU versus virus, which was initiated by European Commission, we saw a lot of interest, not only from Berlin, but from Europe and worldwide, to do these impact-driven projects. And I do think that in general, there's a lot of interest right now in the tech world to do things that they have impact and that they can benefit the world and society. There's a lot of other startups specifically based in Berlin as well that are pushing that agenda, and they're doing that more. So for sure, there's a combination of coming all together, whether you're based in Berlin or not, doing it remotely or not, and finding ways to fight on specific causes. And there's definitely some very excellent programs that they are run in Germany and outside that could support that.
And what about, because you mentioned like many programs like from the incubators, accelerators, and other community partners, but how is it actually if there are, for example, the startups who would like to focus on more environment, I don't know, sustainability, or even the mobility? So basically the areas where they as well have strong influence in some public sector. So what is your experience and views about German government, and if there are some, I don't know, initiatives or support, what is your what are your thoughts about this part of being entrepreneur, and maybe to have some, I don't know, initiatives from the government on some support?
There's definitely a lot of support from the government actually in Germany, and there's a lot of funding that you can get. Like I think there's a lot of startup funding. I can potentially send you some of the links that you can, as long as you show some innovation and technological improvement, there's a lot of funding that you can receive between 50 to 100,000 without not a lot of hassle and not very complicated in terms of bureaucracy. Of course, there's a lot of VCs based in Berlin, like Early Bird and other VCs that they can also support you, and they would be very happy and open to have a meeting with you right away. There's I mean, I guess I think the openness, specifically from Berlin where I'm based most of the time, it's the fact that you can just go to an event and people would be willing to give you contact and support you. And there's a lot of accelerators. I mentioned already Vision Health Pioneers. There's also a couple of them that they are now popping up online. Factory Berlin, of course, is the oldest, let's say, ecosystem the kind of the trademark of Berlin in terms of community space, where you can be a member with as little as I think 50 euros, and you can be part of the Slack community and ask for help there. There's a lot of meetup communities, a lot of meetup events. Yeah, and certainly a lot of support for impact-driven startups. I don't know if you know Plan A, for example. It's a startup that came out of Berlin. Lubomila is the founder, and she's Bulgarian, and she founded this I think like 3-4 years ago, and right now it has the attention of the media, from the European Commission to, she's one of the brilliant minds of Europe right now, and she actually specifically came to Berlin because of how advanced it is, and she even built her own community, the Green Tech Alliance, where I'm also part as an advisor. I mean, it's a very tightly knit ecosystem, which is very helpful to each other for sure. And there's a lot of public funding help, and there's a lot of people to meet, and they're very open to take meetings.
Yeah, great to hear it, and thank you very much for so great overview. I think even for me, to understand better the whole ecosystem. Anna, as you are the founder, even like in terms of the technology startups, I believe that even on this path, there is many challenges, which are actually waiting for those founders to overcome there. I know that already Jan mentioned some of the market specifics, in terms of some few challenges. But what is your personal experience? What challenges you think that they are for the founders? What they should be aware of, and maybe how you went through it?
Well, I would like to say something also about the government funds in Germany and startup grants. That's amazing. I mean, without these grants, we wouldn't be there where we are right now. So it was a huge help. And of course, there's always up and down. So, for example, I think the fashion industry in Germany is much more old school and takes longer to work with innovations than in the US. We had this experience. Yes, and yeah, I think every startup has some experience with up and downs, like getting funding. After our startup grant, we had to close a pre-seed round, and yeah.
And do you think in terms, let's say, of the customers, and to do the business, in Germany, that there is something like the specific, even from your experience, and point of view, what they should be aware of, or not?
I mean, we work with a lot of allies in the industry. We are working with the CEOs of the big companies, of H&M or Marco Polo, Gary Weber. We have a lot of allies in the industry. So I recommend every startup working as a B2B company to have a look for mentors and allies in the industry. That helps a lot because they open a lot of doors, and yes.
Yeah, I think that this is quite really important, and maybe not only in Germany, but to really don't think the founders that they need to be alone in this journey. Of course, there are a bunch of partners, but in terms if they would like to develop their business cases, that even the connection with the corporates and large businesses, which can give them the great definitely case study and a success case, which they can after that replicate for other large clients. So definitely I would really encourage, and great to hear from you that even in Germany, it's really important to be open and try to cooperate with those large maybe partners, clients, to check your technology. And basically it can help you to gain much more traction even with their customers, rather than if you'll go alone by your own. So this is definitely one of the ways. Jan, from your point of view, because you are in the Born Digital and you are doing B2B, so how you are looking in terms of, from your personal experience, cooperation like the startup and large corporations. So what are your experiences with this?
Yeah, especially in large corporations, it's really important to have a network to get in there, since the large corporations are difficult to get into, since they, as I said before, as they have the vendors. But if you go in a broader B2B market, I fully agree with Anna. that you definitely need a partner network, because going to every corporate by yourself, it really takes some time. The sales life cycle in Germany, I think, is much longer than it is in other countries. And if you would like to approach them by yourself, each individual company or corporate company, then it takes time. And that's what I've seen in the past, that startups think always that they have the best product, and the corporates just need it. They rip it out of my hand, but it's most of the time it doesn't work that way. And therefore, it is really, really important to find the right partners which already have the connections, which have the distribution network, and have the connections to the corporates. But once you have been chosen by the corporates, then of course the German customers, from my point of view, are very loyal. So once you have implemented a product, a service, a product in there, then you really can have a long journey with these corporates if you don't mess it up.
Yeah, thank you very much for putting those notes. And besides of the corporates, I believe that as well, like the scene with the investments, as Hendrik is part of, has his own VC. How is it actually, Hendrik, in terms of the funding? Because of the angels, or the private equity VCs, what is like the investment scene in Germany? Like how it's like structured? Because from our experience, for example, I don't know, in Czechia or even Poland, there is a bit different structure, how the funding is doing. In Poland, we saw that there is more and more funding from the from the government, from the public agencies. In Czech, we can see that there are VCs, but as well there is a majority of the angels. So how is it in Germany right now, from your experience?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think we have an increasingly active angel community. With two different kinds of angels. One, the typical angels bringing, I don't know, a couple of 5-digit amount up to 6-digit amounts to work. And then we have also an increasing community of super angels who are doing millions of initial investments, starting to actually compete with early stage VCs. I also think that there is a good pool of seed funds, especially located in and around Berlin, doing great job and having, being well integrated in the community, getting good access. And also in the Series A stage, we see well-funded VCs who can do investments. Where I do see still a huge gap is in growth funding. So once certain startups gain momentum and they actually have the opportunity to compete with US-based peers or other international peers, and they start to need significant amounts. So I'm talking about 9-digit amounts, so 300, 400, 500 million, or even 100 million. That's something which the domestic funding scene has challenges to provide, which I think is actually a significant problem for the ecosystem, because at the end of the day, new disruptive tech companies quite often has to go the full way. Otherwise, it may face at some point of time the choice to be either acquired or to leave the market. And quite often companies therefore get prematurely consolidated, and we are said to look at the leading tech company of the world and find an inferior share of European originated companies, not to talk about German originated companies. So I think the root cause for that is predominantly, at least in current days, the underfunded growth financing industry, which simply has a tough time to provide these significant checks in the growth phase. So in these phases, European startups are still, to a large extent, dependent on global capital. And as we all know, it is always more challenging to get comfortable with an investment opportunity abroad than with something in your backyard. So that leads to an inferior access to growth capital, and this is something we should definitely try to solve. We are working on it. We're doing very best, but as I said initially, we have not yet been able to really live up to the sizes which I think the market deserves and which we observe in other regions of this world.
Yeah, and I believe that definitely as times will go, I believe that you'll be more and more closer, as you mentioned, to the limits and to the maximum potential, what is actually possible to do in the economy like Germany is, because I believe that there is much more what you can achieve. Yeah. Still, we are coming to the end of this panel. So I would like to ask all of you guys, what would you recommend to all founders, local, abroad, if they would like to expand into Germany? What would you like to share with them as your golden message? Elena?
Oh God, I've got the honor to be the first one answering this question. What advice would I give to a founder starting? One thing I wanted to say before, and I realized while I was after you asked me the question about impact and what kind of startups they're making impact in Berlin, and especially after this 1.5 years, I would say, and I would combine it answering to this also. The question is that I had the pleasure as well this last year to work with a couple of Berlin-based startups, namely Poly, which is also an impact-driven project, specifically helping around data privacy topics and having a very, very ambitious scope, which is necessary around helping citizen-driven data and how people can protect their own data. And I've seen through them, actually, as a Berlin-based startup, I would say, I've seen through them what they have managed to achieve, and I would definitely recommend to startups abroad or people coming from abroad, founders from abroad coming into Germany, is that it's all about perseverance, right? Having an idea and sticking to it, knowing that your vision has a bigger scope, or that you're bigger than your vision, let's say, in a very inspirational motto. And of course, I would also agree that with Jan on what he said before about the connections in Germany, that it is let's say it's tougher to break through in some cases. Like it's easy to meet people and people would be open and welcome to support, but it's definitely tougher to break through. And then as soon as you're in, there's a sense of belonging and loyalty. And I would say with that in mind, that and having worked myself right now with different startups and helping them out, that this would be the number one thing that I would highlight and advice that I would give. And of course, as soon as you enter, for sure, build your network and something that would help you continue establish yourself and finding your own peers.
Yes.
Thank you, Elena. Jan, what is your golden message to founders?
I totally agree with Elena what she said. A little patience at the beginning, because a lot of startups I talk to, they are at the beginning a little bit impatient and want to enter the market immediately and think that everything is won. But it needs a little patience. And for example, with Born Digital, we are now talking to Vodafone very closely, and even to BMW, which does the interior of the car. We are in discussion with them. But it takes time to get into this level, because as a small startup from abroad, entering it in the highest senior level of those big companies takes some time. But once you, as Elena said, once you have really cracked the nut there, then the doors are very open once you have achieved one goal.
Okay, thank you. Anna?
Yeah, I would say also persistence, keep going, never stop. And even you have negative things happening, just keep going and the door will open again on the next side. And I think network is the key. go to Germany, build your network, build an advisory board maybe, which has board members of Germany. We yesterday, for example, our team is 5 people, but yesterday we had a room full of 20 people. So spread the word to Germany, contact us. I mean, I think we are here, so we can help you enter into German startup system also. Yes, I would say network and persistence.
Thank you, Anna. And Hendrik, what is your golden message for the founders?
Yeah, I mean, in this time, it's not a privilege to be the last, because I think everything said, not yet by everybody. So, yeah, I think my message would be find your partners. It's about, as it's been said, network, help to open doors, and leadership. That might be a new aspect which has not been yet said. If you want to enter here, I think you have to have, like always in each and every country, I think you want to enter every market. Think about leadership and over-invest into leadership. At the end of the day, the people in the front make the difference, and if they then also get the support of great partners, be it through advisory boards as suggested, be it through local investors, whoever it might be, if strong leaders get good support through a strong network, you will be successful.
Okay, thank you very much, Hendrik, Jan, Anna, Elena. Once more, really, thank you very much, guys, that you decided to join us. And I believe that once we'll share all these videos and guidance which we try to cover, that it will help the founders, like in Germany, but as well abroad, what we are having in Startup Disrupt. So thank you very much once more. And right now, I would like to pass the word to the second panel. So right now, we are stepping on this to the second part of today's session. And I would like to welcome here Stefan Horvat, who is an amazing person, a really experienced entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience on the C-level in international companies and consulting firms. He's the founder of Ideations, a firm connecting knowledge, investor relations, and advising tech clients and tech funds on business and innovation strategies. So, Stefan, welcome here. The stage is yours.
Hello, and thank you for having me here, especially for having us all here in the panel today. First of all, thank you very much for you, the team, and also for everyone out listening today to the panel. It is a very good initiative. It is a very good format, and I think also very creative. And today it's about Germany, and which I love most, because I'm born and raised in Germany. I worked about 20 years abroad in 6 continents, and COVID brought me back home. And yeah, now I'm here, and we are talking today about community partners, how to find the best partners for your hypergrowth. Hypergrowth is a big word, and let's say hypergrowth is about a growth industry, artificial intelligence, AIoT, maybe communications, mobility, but also it has to meet growth markets like impact investment, like the fighting of climate change. Everybody is telling us forbidden is not good, but define new technologies, develop new ideas that helps the humanity to fight that. So I think there's a lot of chances for European and especially German startups, where the German government also helps to support areas in renewable energies, hydrogen, and all that stuff. And that is what we want to discuss today with the panel. Yeah, what are the growth industries in Germany? And how is Germany suited to build that? We have today in the panel, it was about finding the right industries and also finding the right partners. And the right partners, I think we have here on our panel. Let me just introduce very quickly the names, and then everybody can give an own introduction. Jessica Espinosa, she's Vice President, Investment, Private Equity and Venture Capital of DEG. which is a very important company in Germany when it comes to finding entrepreneurship. And she's also co-chair of 2X Collaborative. We have here Björn Holster, knowledge through research, Lim Analytics partners, and also the managing partners of the Technology Institute in Frankfurt. Ashish Kumar Mittal from Open Finance Technology. He's vice president of Bank Open, and he brings innovation and experience from Asia to China. Ruth Kramer, expert in business modeling, startup financing, and what I really loved when I saw that was that she worked on Dragon's Den, or a coach for the startup industry, which makes me very, very interested about that part of the speech. And I can't see at the moment Zoltan. So I think we have then the team ready, and I will hand over. Maybe Ruth, would you like to start to introduce yourself and how you are connected to the German startup industry ecosystem, please?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think you said already a lot. So I originally studied mathematics, and so that's basically where my numbers for where my passion for numbers, KPIs, and such comes from. I worked as an investment manager, and then went back to my own business. Basically as a consultant, and that's what I'm doing now. So I help mostly startups to prepare for investors. That is kind of my core business, among others for the German version of the TV show Dragon's Den or Shark Tank. I'm doing this since 4.5 years, something like that. So I've prepared like 500 startups around for that show already, but actually I do a quite similar job with my usual clients, because it's basically not always the same questions that investors have, but it's quite similar issues. And sometimes I also work with investors or in M&A projects, analyzing business models, going deeper into the number crunching stuff and things like that. I have some side projects, some startups. One I'm invested in. I teach at university. So I'm writing a book currently. So some side hustles as well, but still mainly working with startups to prepare them for investors.
Wow, that's really awesome. Jessica, would you give a short introduction, and may I ask you to talk a bit about the gender lens investing, because that is what I found at your profile that looked to me very, very appealing, and I think it's absolutely in that what you call in German Zeitgeist. So I think it goes right in the direction. So please.
Hi, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here today. So as Stefan already mentioned, I'm kind of wearing two hats. I'm Vice President for Venture Capital and Private Equity Investments at DG. DG invests in emerging markets. So we don't invest directly in German startups or in German companies. But every time a German company expands to global markets and to emerging markets, we're a partner to take them on this international journey. And I think particularly pertinent to today's discussion about hyper growth in venture capital in particular, but also private equity, what we see is that whenever we have business models that are tech-enabled, that have hyper growth potential, they are often global, or I would say almost always global models. So the boundaries between developed markets, emerging markets is very blurred, and that also opens up exciting opportunities for DG. Furthermore, we of course also part of the KfW group, plays a big role in financing German startups with KfW Capital, and so also there are interesting synergies and opportunities for collaboration. Then my second role, as Stefan, you mentioned, is co-chair of the 2X Collaborative. The 2X Collaborative is an industry body for gender lens investing. It's global and convenes the entire spectrum of investors in a global industry body. So those are the development finance institutions like DG, from all over the world. Also like the IFC, that I'm sure many of you know, as well as private equity funds, venture capital funds, pension funds who are LPs in funds, and basically all other types of asset managers and financial institutions. And the purpose is to apply a gender lens to the way we invest. So really to our core business. And we launched in 2018 at the G7 Summit, we launched a 2X challenge, which was at the time committed to mobilize at least $3 billion of investments that have a gender lens. What does that mean? It means investing, overcoming gender bias in capital allocation, investing in female founders who we know receive still only 2% of venture capital, which is really ridiculous if you look at the potential and the opportunity market. So looking at female founders, but also of companies that are founded by men, but that, for example, make an effort to have diversity and inclusion policies and practices, that have women in leadership positions, women in the workforce, and that also address the women's market on the consumer side. So that look at women's needs, kind of products that have a gender lens. And the 3 billion target was significantly overachieved. We mobilized more than 11 billion in less than 3 years, which really showed the business case. That, as I mentioned, was at an international level, but very interestingly, we received a lot of interest initially from Switzerland and from Swiss investors, but now also increasingly from Germany. And I think this is really a major future trend that will also be decisive in the way we allocate capital. Here, I have a lot of other stuff to share, but I don't want to talk too long.
Okay, thank you. So it's really awesome, and I think very, very comprehensive, and definitely we will have questions about that later. Let me hand over now to Björn. Björn is the partner from Liminalytics and also the managing partner of Technology Institute. He's from Frankfurt, and please, would you just give an overview about what you do for the German startup ecosystem?
Yeah, thanks, Stefan. Yeah, so my background is a little different. Actually, I'm an engineer, a mechanical engineer. Worked in the finance industry for 20 years as a partner in the family office for UBS, as an investment banker in capital markets for Deutsche, as a business developer in the Middle Eastern region, working with the state funds. And then I decided I need to do something which is actually really challenging. So I decided to become an entrepreneur and found a startup, which was the first one was Technology Institute, because I wanted to learn something new every day, right? And once I started learning and getting back into coding, which I had done during my studies, I really learned that I didn't know anything. So my learning curve is still very steep now, 3 years in. And what we have done there as a major project is Liminalytics, which is a new word we created actually from liminality and analytics. Liminality is the analysis of passages between states. In this case, it's the passage between the carbon economy and the zero carbon economy. And analytics, obviously, we analyze the risks that go along with that. And the special setup we have there is we work together with a development partner, which is the bank. In our case, it's GLS Bank. Very high ambition level in terms of sustainable finance. And why do we do this? Because we've identified sustainability and regulatory environment in Germany as a big area. But we also know that this is so complicated, and I think the previous panel, Henrik mentioned it before, especially in Germany, if you are not firm on the regulatory side, seek a partner is exactly what we did. And we developed this model together with them so we can have it ready once the regulator makes it mandatory, which is expected next year, that every bank has to calculate their credit value at risk from climate risk, which sounds easy, but I'm sure, Ruth, you're a mathematician, you know that's quite complicated to do when all of the data that you have is qualitative, and then you have to produce some kind of quantitative output. So quite interesting, and for me personally, extremely challenging because of the very steep learning curve, both on the content side and on the programming side.
Right. Thank you. And last, Ashish, would you please share Because I have seen in your profile you worked on 3 continents, right? And we are now in Germany. So what brought you back to Germany, or what brought you to Germany? And how can we learn from this journey for the German ecosystem?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think from my side, I was a past engineer, software engineer, about 15, 16 years back, who did engineering in computer science and was working as a software developer for many years before, actually started working for that for money. But then very soon realized that, the niche of, or the value of software development is not about, how difficult the algorithms are, but how much value it brings to the users and how much value it brings to the business and the consumers. And which is the area which I kind of lacked. So I went back to school to learn that, did my master's in business, and then went to Bank of New York Mellon Corporation, where I, spent the next 4 years building wealth management technology. It was more like, robo advisory minus 1.0, where under the hood everything was completely automatic, but for the end consumer there was still an advisor, sitting and kind of helping out the end investor. In 2011, I accidentally kind of bumped into the CTO of one of the fastest growing Indian startup in a very small town near New York, and coincidentally, just for half a day spent over there, I ended up coming back to India to work for Flipkart. Spent about 6 years over there. In those 6 years, of course, Flipkart went from a 200 people company to a 25,000 people company, from a valuation of few $100 million to $27 billion. It's already around 40 billion right now. So as you can imagine, if you see that scale of 200 to 25,000 people, I've kind of done it all, right? In the startup, you have to kind of do everything that is kind of required. And at that point in time, somewhere in 2018, there were a lot of circumstances being changed on my personal side, and I was more looking to actually go back to US, to be honest. But one of my ex-colleague at Flipkart, who was in Germany, somehow kind of got me here, and I'm really happy that it did, because when I kind of was coming here, I felt Germany would be quite closer to the Western world, which in my mind was US at that point in time. But I think it's very, very different, and I'm really happy to kind of get that experience. Over the last 3 years, I've obviously worked for Zalando as head of product and N26. And right now I'm leading international charter for Open Bank. And what I'm doing is a little bit opposite to what Jessica, you are kind of, your area is. So you are kind of looking for companies, German companies who are kind of expanding outward. We are an outer company who's kind of trying to establish or set up an office here for European expansion. So we want to be a European bank for businesses, small and medium-sized businesses. And right now we are exploring, or actually, kind of working with a lot of partners, potential partners, to tackle some of the things that Bjorn, you said about regulatory. So we are definitely finding the right partners over there, and the ecosystem is really amazing. I think what I can definitely talk about in today's session, maybe in some time, is how I see the ecosystem of these 3 continents, and what is really special about Germany. It's definitely very close to my heart.
I think I write down the question and I will come back. But just what I want to say is, you said something very, very important. You said you're doing the opposite of what Jessica is doing, right? But that is the beauty of that panel from here, from Startup Disrupt, and how we brought it together. Because as an entrepreneur, you don't have just one path. You have so many options. Some of them look from outside inwards, the other look from inside outwards. And one or more on the commercial side, like we have seen with Ruth, what she said before. Others are highly on the technology side, like Björn lighted out, right? And I think what I would go in the second round to Ruth, and I'm really sorry for asking, but this Höhle des Löwen, or Dragon's Den, is so, or what you also do with pitch consulting, not only there, but somewhere else, right? Is, can you share some experience how that helps actually a German startup to get prepared to walk through investors? Because Jessica is on the investment side. She want to see a perfect pitch, right? So at least a perfect pitch would makes it way easier to come in. And Ruth, is on the side that helps a startup that has maybe a fantastic idea, but not the true plan, how she brings the data to, how they have to bring the data together and walk there onwards. So Ruth, can you share some experience around that, or share some what a startup has to look at to do that, how you prepare them? Just a few hints.
So the question is about what we actually do with the pitch training, right?
The question is about when I'm a startup, yeah, how can you help a startup to pitch perfect?
Well, how
so it's your work.
by knowledge, yeah, how by knowledge and experience, yeah. So because well, and it helps a lot that I have been on the investor side, so I know what investors are looking for, at least in my former area. So as I said, I'm a mathematician from study, so I worked in the software area. So yeah, from what I've seen now, actually I think I can now say, after almost 5 years of the German Dragon's Den, I've worked in every kind of industry, because it's basically everything. Yeah, it's tech, it's sometimes super high tech, it's sometimes tomato sauces. I don't know. Yeah, it's basically everything, which was really a challenge for me, coming just from the software side. So. But I was super surprised, realizing after several months, or maybe after the first year, that actually it is, yeah, everything. Well, they have something in common. And for example, when I do with other clients, when I prepare them for investors, a lot of times what I 80% do is talking to them or with them about their business model and trying to get that right to investors, because we have maybe the others have another point of view. I'm a bit provocative here, but I think in Germany we have a very bad pitching culture, I would say, in terms of education and knowledge behind that, because a lot of times when I'm on pitch events, I'm listening to, if they have like 5 minutes pitch, I'm listening to 3.5 minutes product presentation, and if I'm lucky, they say what their pricing model is. Yeah, if I'm very lucky. So a lot of times it's not even there, the business model, but this is the most important thing for investors. So really the not the core of my work, but one of the things I really work with them on is how to present their business model, how to find out what their most important KPIs actually are for their business model, how to present them, how to evaluate if the KPIs they have so far, especially if they're already on the market, are good or are bad. How to present that, how to say where they want to improve, how to argue they're not so good KPIs, how to push the good KPIs, and so on. So basically presenting their business models in a way that it is believable that you can at least at some point make money with it. And for the rest, I'm mostly I like to call myself a content coach. So I don't do presentation modes, or I don't do how to talk or how to move your hands or whatever. Actually, I would be a bad example, because as you see, I'm moving my hands all the time when I'm talking. So I don't do this presentation coaching. I do content coaching, and I tell them what investors want to hear. But sometimes I also do a little bit of, especially with the Dragon's Den, I had to learn a little bit about how to say that. Yeah, for example, I see it a lot of times that especially female founders are not that convincing, or not convinced about themselves, which I think is super sad. So I also had to learn to push people and say, hey, believe in yourself, you can do that, and stuff like that, and tell them actually what is good about their business model, and also to hold, I have to say, mostly the male founders a little bit back, and don't be too over
present.
Over present, or have too much self-esteem, have too much self are too much convinced about themselves, and which especially comes out in terms of evaluations. But that's another point of my work. Yeah,
right. But I think a very, very important takeaway from what you said now is that startups are pretty much focused on their idea or their business or their product, that they are not so much thinking about what an investor want to hear. Maybe at the end, they even forget not only the business model, but also what is in for them, right?
That's clearly my experience, yeah.
Yeah, and that it's important because a lot of startups will look and they want to disrupt the world, yeah. So I think it's important that they have coaches like you who help them to be able on that path, to work that path, yeah, and then to go to. And now let me switch over to Jessica, then to go to someone like Jessica and present, right? But I think then on that level, it is already higher because DEG is looking for the larger tickets, I assume. When you say you go online, and there is one thing that is in my mind, because I worked 1 or 2 years ago on a study for Europe, where a lot of European startups, even if they get funded in the first round, seed, Series A and Series B, then they struggle latest at Series C to get funded in Europe. Yeah. So a way of their exit was, I go to the US, because if the idea is super cool, then the money is there. But for Europe, for Germany, for our ecosystem, it's actually not a good thing, because if Silicon Valley grabs once an idea, yeah, the chances that in a disruptive space, let's say the technology or whatever makes it over the Atlantic, yeah, is very high, right? So DEG, how is DEG helping European startups to stay in Europe and probably also to expand their European business? Are there some cases you can talk about, or a structure that they have to follow?
So to that particular question, so DEG invests in, we have different types of products. Our sweet spot is, as you mentioned, larger ticket sizes. So like in the kind of core commercial business, the minimum ticket would be 5 million of direct investments. Sweet spot is more like 10 to 50 million, and then like all the way up. However, we do invest in VC funds that do also smaller tickets. And then we can also come in as a co-investor. So we have more flexibility there. And in addition, we have a number of specific, like more promotional programs, more for early growth, that are also much smaller tickets. So that can also be under 1 million. We at DG, our use of funds has to be for emerging markets, which makes it a little bit complicated. So it's more like going into emerging markets or having some R&D, or, you know, like the famous developers that are in Ukraine. That would be a great example of what we could finance. And KfW is more part of our group that focus on actually investments in the European Union or in Germany specifically. So they would come in there and provide that. To your other point about the different rounds, my greatest feedback, in addition to what Ruth mentioned, I can only echo that, the focus on the product and not really taking the side of the investor, or really understanding, what is, like the famous example of what is an exit? What are you talking about? Why don't you want to get out of my awesome company after 7 years? That is kind of a classic example. But also often when startups come, or any companies, also Series ABC, when they come to us, they're usually desperate for money. So they're on this first journey, they need new cash, and so they come and they're desperate. And that is often leads to quite bad decision on the founder side, where they get diluted too fast, or where they are not strategic about who they bring on board. They just want the money. And we always work with the entrepreneurs to really encourage them to think about it strategically. Think about, your seed stage, your and then to Series A, and then B, C, etc., to all of the rounds. Think about the ratio of dilution that is acceptable to you, and also what that means in terms of the valuation that you need in each round. And also think about the types of investors that you're targeting. Because what is interesting, what I don't hear so much in the US or in other countries, but what I often hear from German entrepreneurs is that they say, I don't want an accelerator because they take an equity stake. I prefer, any non-dilution capital. And they would rather take money, for example, from a rich uncle who is risk averse, has absolutely no interest in taking startup risk, but they would rather take not smart money, just any kind of money that where they don't have to give up stake, but that can't add any value to them. And an accelerator, especially if you think about the famous example from Silicon Valley, Y Combinator, but also in Germany, we have Techstars, we have others. If you think about those and the kind of network they bring, the reputation, the branding, that is kind of the smart capital that you would want. Or if you think about VCs, in Germany, we have Early Bird, and just kind of the opportunities that such an investor can open up. It's better to give up a little bit more stake or to have an equity investor than having money that's not bringing any value add, and that will definitely not help you get to hypergrowth or to an IPO.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And I think it's the next learning. Yeah, it's not only strategically preparing the pitch, right? But what you said before and looking at the KPIs, it is also strategically planning ahead your funding rounds from C to Series A to Series B to Series C, right? Because that is where very often they struggle. And I work together with a few VCs from Silicon Valley, and I know that for them, European companies who are distressed in funding rounds are seen as an easier prey than probably well-funded US companies, right? So I think that's a very important hint, and I think it's also for a startup important to plan that ahead with a CFO or with partners like DEG, KfW, or others, right? To have their a straight route. And may I just move on now to Björn, because before we're running out of time. So where do you see, Björn, the opportunities for startups in Germany? And you mentioned before a topic like sustainability or RegTech space. Where do you see there the opportunity?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, before I start, let me say I agree with Ruth and Jessica said. It was very important to have that plan, and within that plan, I think it's also good to be situated in some kind of a mega trend, right? And we all know sustainability is one of those trends, and there's a lot of hot air produced around that, and there are many companies out there calculating your CO2 footprint. Unfortunately, which is also a topic in the earlier session, right? The level of education in Germany is so terrible that people will just take that number and will not ask where the data comes from and what does it actually signify? What does it mean, right? What data did you use? Is this actually a number that you can use in further calculations? Is it correct? How big are the errors? If you look at the scenarios that are calculated, for example, we have Friederike Otto from the climate side from Oxford University on the board, right? If you look on the errors that go in NGFS climate scenarios, for example, predictions of carbon price for the next years, it's between 50 and 5,000 euros per ton. So, I mean, this bar is so immensely huge, and then people do a calculation, say your carbon footprint is 5 tons. But what does 5 tons carbon footprint mean? Depends on the carbon price, right? If it's 50, it's not a whole lot, right? If it's 5,000, it's a lot of money. So we really try to ask what is the quality of the data that goes into calculations, and what actually can you do with this data? This is also a discussion that we have with the regulators, both on the European level and on the German level. One of our founding partners with the DNB in the Netherlands. How can you ask as a regulator banks to make calculations and not provide the data or the formula to do it with? So this goes hand in hand. The good thing is nobody knows how to do it, so we're all in this boat together. Maybe we're on our side a little bit science heavy, because we have the quantum physicist and mechanical engineer and the mathematician, and we need probably more marketing and people who can translate it into something that somebody can understand. But I feel like sustainability, and especially a combination with the regulatory space, which, like we heard, it seems to be a big topic, especially in Germany, and I think in Europe as well. This is something where we could also spend some time educating the younger generation. And the founders that we have, we all 20 years plus of industry experience. And I teach as well at Frankfurt School and at Arcades, which is a small university in Bad Homburg. And if you see the level of education there, even in the master classes, it's really, really frightening. So people do not know how to use the simplest programming techniques. They do not know how to do the simplest interest calculations, and that's not is coming out of school. It's on master level. So how can you do with this level of education? How can you set up a company? And I think Henrik said it before in the previous panel. It is really something where everybody with a little experience needs to go teach something. I think, and bring this to a better standard, because it's what they actually should learn in school. And that's what we're about. And when we have that, then it's easy to have the cool startups where people actually know what their business model is and how they will bring it forward, and then everything else falls in place accordingly. So this is my challenge to everybody with experience: go out there and teach on the side. It's fun, and it helps us all makes Europe a better place for the entire startup community.
Right. Thank you. And I think that is also what Startup Disrupt is doing. We have seen at the beginning in the first panel good startups, and they add in that format in the second panel the partners, right? And since, as you said, there are some deficits in different ways, for some more in the mathematical or in the numbers or in the finance areas, it is so important that the startup ecosystem in Germany gets bolstered, by valuable partners who could help them to overcome the gaps, to make it a smooth experience for their startup. So, and I think that is what makes the startup system, I think, in such areas very, very reliable. If you work together with partners, who understand the local market, who work together, and then who move on. So I really like that summary. Thank you so much. And Ashish, maybe you can tell me something about what you think in the question you raised before about what is the impact for the German ecosystem? What can you bring in? What we can learn from outside? Would you share this experience with us?
Absolutely. And I think there are some similarities between the startup ecosystem everywhere in the world, including Germany, but there are also quite a few differences. So I think on the positive side, I definitely feel that Germany, a general mindset of strategic thinking and planning ahead is very, very strong, and it kind of gives a very strong foundation in a lot of ways. Similarly, I think while fully agree with Bjorn around the education needs, especially around carbon footprinting, etc. But I also do find that the broader level of people who are involved in startups have a very constant zeal of learning. So the average number of years that Germans spend in education is already more, and then on top of it, the companies and individuals are ready to kind of invest a lot more on continuous education, which is quite heartening, and not very commonly seen everywhere in the world. And what this kind of leads to is basically a challenging environment where your peers and your colleagues give you challenge you in every aspect of things that you're kind of doing or you want to do, and which keeps you honest and keeps you on the right track. At the same time, I do feel that the risk appetite of taking drastic decisions, and sometimes you have data to kind of get to the right decision making. Sometimes you do not. Taking that leap of confidence and deciding something and say, hey, it's okay, we'll fail, but we'll kind of move on. I think that's something I would definitely encourage more in the ecosystem here. Similarly, around the focus of speed versus profitability, or growth versus profitability is another area which I believe strongly that Berlin could benefit, or Germany could largely benefit if some of these startup traits are very heavily kind of done. The only thing which I kind of add over here, and it's a commonly accepted phenomena across leaders in the startup ecosystem is that this risk averseness, or this intolerance to failure, is coming from the investors. I'm not too sure about that. So I feel that it's a catch-22 kind of a situation, or it's a chicken and egg story. I feel that broadly people are less keen to take risk. Think about it, from a one employee to take risk in kind of doing something completely different outside of their area, or Jessica was talking about taking investment with some dilution. And the founders are like really scared about diluting, or actually it's not even diluting, but ESOPs, the kind of ESOPs that you get, let's say, in India or in US is very different. So someone who would have like that kind of an exposure would see that as a big trade. So I feel very strongly that it's not just driven by the investors. I think the investors are unduly blamed, maybe partially unduly blamed, but I think the founders and the senior employees are also need to have a lot more risk appetite, a lot more eagerness to grow, eagerness to kind of fail and let their teams kind of fail. So I think those are some of the nuances that I've kind of noticed in my 3.5, 4 years here.
Thank you. Thanks. I think it's a great summary. I think we are already at 8:01, and I have a red flashing light from the organizers, because they didn't say it, but we are here in Germany, so we are not Thomas Gottschalk, because that is the only guy in Europe or in the German TV who can overdraw any TV session as long as he wants. We're a bit limited, yeah. So I was asking for the last closing statement. I just want to, before I say that, I want to say a big thank you, and it was an honor to have such esteemed speakers with me today here in this panel. Thank you so much for your contribution, and let me give you the opportunity for one last sentence or statement which you want to give to our startups who are listening today. Maybe Ruth, if you want to start, or
why does it always have to be me? Well, one statement.
Because you're the next in the flow. So. Sorry. On the screen, you were the next. Ladies first.
Statement. Yeah, then it's ladies first. Yeah, that's actually a typical German thing. When it's the thing that nobody when it's the thing that nobody wants to do first, then it's ladies first.
Ruth,
but without the other things,
we can do it the other way around, and we start with Ashish.
Actually, I always say with such a thing, I always get a little bit cheesy and definitely say, despite all the other things, and it's all right, and I always say focus on your numbers and be more analytic and so on, but at some point it's really follow your heart, because I think it's super important that you with all the education you need and all the knowledge and all the strategy and numbers and KPIs and analytics and whatever, it's super important that you are super convinced about it, because we just talked about how difficult it is and how the mindset still is actually not in favor of founders. So it's super important to believe in what you do and to really have your heart in it. And these are the founders I'm super happy to work with each and every time. So I hope we will see more of them.
Thank you. Jessica, maybe can I hand over to you?
Yes, happy to go next. I would say, whatever you want as a startup is fine. But if you want hyper growth, which is the topic of this panel, you have to take smart risks. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Bring on board all the support that you need. Establish an advisory board. Ask the top people. Don't be afraid to ask the big guys or girls. And just get the support you need, and then just trust that you can, make it happen and take those calculated risks.
Thank you. Awesome. Björn, please.
Yeah, a little bit in the same direction, right? So everybody thinking about starting a company, just go ahead and do it, right? So and take this I can fail attitude and learn from your mistakes, right? So I keep a list which is not the to-do list, but I have done list. So I put everything I've done on that list. It's a great list, makes me very happy. I look at it. and I've failed, that's also a good thing to do. And don't be afraid to reach out. Comparing my sales career 20 years to entrepreneur career. If you're sales, nobody wants to talk to you, right? Because you're getting on their nerves. But if you're an entrepreneur, don't be afraid to reach out. Most of the people are happy to speak to you, and then you can network and learn from each other. So just do it. Don't hesitate.
Yeah, and then Ashish, please.
Absolutely, I fully agree with Bjorn. I think one of the beauty of being in Berlin or being in Germany is even though sometimes people may feel a little dry, but everyone is very keen, in the heart to help. You approach anyone, it's a very strong and very collaborative ecosystem of sorts. And I think irrespective of how we kind of have some small things about the risk appetite and some of those things not working in the favor, I think by and large Berlin in Germany is really amazing to start a pan-European company. I'm kind of building a business neobank, and I have pretty much every partner for every single area. Even if there are some things which I already have in my house, I'm kind of thinking about leveraging that. So the kind of ecosystem that's there in Germany is amazing. The ease of doing business is really good. So with all the German bureaucracy talk about, but the faults that you see over there is very minimal. So I have to give that to the German government, that they have really done some things right over there. But really, apart from all of these, which are measurable things, I think the real value of starting up in Berlin or Germany comes from the openness that people have. So everyone is open to kind of listen to each other, and everyone is open to kind of understand others' perspective. The freedom that you have, so the freedom that each one of us have in terms of our thoughts, and freedom is not just limited to your mobility or what you are saying or what you are kind of imposing on others, but yourself, everyone is so free to think and do anything that they feel like. And just the multicultural or cosmopolitan crowd that we have. So diversity, openness, and freedom are really amazing, and this kind of makes the companies naturally innovative, structurally strategic, and ridiculously meticulous. So I think this is the perfect blend of a startup, in my opinion, and Berlin and Germany are really amazing to kind of provide that culture and space for startups to be able to create pan-European companies.
Okay, thank you so much for your closing words. We will hand now back to the startup competition that starts now, and I'm sure we wish them all not only growth, but definitely hyper growth. And now we hand over back to Patrick. Thanks.
Sorry, guys. So once more, thank you, all of you guys, for your amazing contribution from the previous panel. Thank you, Stepan, for amazing moderation. And right now we are stepping into the next phase of today's session, which will be pitch night. We have prepared for you 4 amazing and brave startup founders. And each founder will have up to 4 minutes to pitch their startup. And after that, 3 minutes for receive some feedback from the previous panelists. So let's start it. So let's start with János Hildebrand, who is a co-founder of System Aquil. So János, the stage is yours.
Okay. Hello, Patrick. Thanks a lot for the invite. I will share my screen.
Amazing. 4 minutes starts now.
Okay. Yeah, so welcome to today's session, also from my side. So my name is János Hildebrand. I'm a co-founder at System Aquil. And I'm in the skincare business and data science business since more than 10 years. And what is our purpose? What is the purpose of System Aquil? We want to change the way people treat their skin. At System Aquila, we want to set the new standard for skin health as a new category. We believe that not only skin care affects skin problems or can fix skin problems. So we believe that everything has an impact on skin health. So we have skincare on the one side, we have well-being on the other side, we have nutrition, and of course we have habit building. And we want to empower the people to take care of their own skin health. Therefore, we developed a holistic approach, a new holistic approach, which combines the four major pillars of skin health. So first of all, of course, we have skincare and we have products, and we build an app-based skincare routine to help our consumers to apply the products in the right way and at the right timing. But in addition to this, we integrated well-being coaching and nutrition optimization, which is really, really important for skincare problems, as we know from the dermatologists that nutrition also affects skin health directly. And at the end, of course, we want to affect the behavior of our customers, and therefore we provide also in our integrated system, in regular in-app monitoring of daily habits like sleep, nutrition, and well-being or mental health, for example. This circle, we apply this circle to our first indication, and the first indication is acne-prone skin. At the end, our technology provides a seamless integration and the first one-stop solution for a highly personalized skin health system. We have three major pillars in our technology. So we have, of course, personalized data sets. These data sets then affect also the core program and, of course, our compliance enhancing technology. The data sets we collect during onboarding questionnaires, daily questionnaires, questions like how do you feel about your skin and how many hours do you sleep and stuff like this. Yeah, and these data then is of course transferred to personal statistics and also affects our core program. The core program is a 6-week expert guided program covering the topics skincare, nutrition, and well-being. This program then is highly aligned to our compliance enhancing technology, because from the dermatology, we know that it is super, super important that the people apply the right products in the right way and at the right timing. And these compliance enhancing technology consists of 3 pillars. So we have an in-app shop where you can where we provide the right products for acne-prone skin. Then we have a skincare routine, which builds on a daily routine and on a morning and evening routine, where the user is guided through the application of the products. And then the user can directly monitor by our face scan technology the progress of the skincare routine and of the core program. And at the end, we can combine these data with the daily questionnaires and the personal statistics to update and to personalize the core program and the skincare routine. So this is our approach, a holistic skincare approach affecting skincare, nutrition, and well-being. So we believe that quick fix skin treatments are a thing of the past. What is really, really close to our heart is to put the customer into the driver's seat and to provide the right tools for the right time to affect the new category of skin health. Thanks a lot. This is our team. Of course, we have Aquila, our founder. We have Gregos, for example, our medical doctor. And we have myself, also trained in skincare and data science. And then we have Gediminas from the technology. And of course, for us, very important to have the formulation guys and, of course, UX design, marketing, and behavioral economists. That's it for today. This is our contact here at System Aquila. And yeah, of course, feel free to ask questions, and we are happy to answer this also in future deep dives. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Janos. Amazing presentation. So thank you. Wow, great page. And right now we would like to ask our panelists, which we can see that Ashish, Ruth, and Stefan, who is still here. So guys, right now you definitely can ask any questions. What do you think would be relevant to give some meaningful feedback, or if you have any questions? So Ruth, the word is yours.
Yes, I'm so sorry, but I have to say this, it was exactly what I meant before, because what you actually did was not a startup pitch, it was a pure product presentation. I like the team at the end, at least that was a bit more, and you showed that your team is very very knowledgeable and that it really fits what you're doing, but you lost yourself in a lot of explanation going back and forth between the problem and solution a lot of times. So I would highly recommend you to structure that like in a really, really strict way, problem solution, but not just solution, but we are doing that, and then a short guidance from to and so on. So I would have so many remarks to that, but I would just leave it with that. But I would like to ask you then, how are you actually making money?
Okay. Yes, we are making money, of course, of our subscription model. So you can buy our products. So we develop products for acne-prone skin, and you can shop this product in our in-app shop. This is one revenue stream. The next one is then co-partnering and co-marketing strategies with other companies, and to provide this as a platform technology. And the third one is to monitorize the data we collect, also to give insights to the cosmetic industry, for example.
Sorry, that's actually super interesting. And I think you have a lot more to bring there. So if you find a way to dance the whole product presentation, and tell more about the business model of the market, maybe of your competition as well. So for example, I didn't even get that you have own products. I had an idea, but I wasn't really sure about that. Yeah. So so you told us a lot about your product, but actually it was even a bit more confusing. Yeah. So I think you have a great model here, and you have a great potential here. And with a good pitch, you could really blow people away. So all the best, and sorry for the hard critique.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you, Ruth. And maybe once more from Ashish, who is not able to get a cam, but he has the voice. So I think that this is definitely more valuable. So Ashish, do you have any feedback from the Janos?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think from from my personal investments, in some companies, and from the startups that I mentor as part of the Techstars mentor program, or the otherwise, I think what is really interesting, in some of the startup pitches, to really understand, how big is the market, what is the total market size, addressable market size, why are you the right, person to crack it, to just give a sense of how big this opportunity could be, and how big the eventual your startup will be. And as investors are much more keener on that than the actual product at this point in time. At some times, because essentially we all know that over the next 2 or 3 years, you are going to have multiple variations in the product. You are going to pivot maybe 1 or 2 times already. So what is most important is to really understand how big is the market, how big is the addressable market, why are you the right position, and also advertise the founding team a little bit more. I think the founding team has to really come across as one of the most strong thing in a startup pitch, basically.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the feedback.
So once more, thank you very much, Janos, for your time, for your great pitch, and to wish you the best in your next phases of System Aquil. So thank you very much that you were with us. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, and right now, let's step into the second pitch with the second founder. So Jem, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So start sharing you. So hopefully my screen is visible, and this is Jem.
Sorry, Jem, we can see only the StreamYard screen. Maybe you just need to click on the presentation if you have 2 monitors.
Okay. Apologies. Hopefully this works better now. No, still not?
No, still.
Okay. Just a second.
Maybe try to just, yeah, exactly.
And now it works.
Yeah, now it works. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this is Gem, and well, the story starts a bit before Hypatos. I founded an AI industry analyst. It's called AI Multiple, and we are getting about 500,000 enterprise visitors per month, researching areas like enterprise AI, robotic process automation, etc. And I noticed that even though solutions that are rules-based, like robotic process automation, they are solving some of the companies' problems, I saw that document automation is really not being solved. So when I met the Hypatos team, this was about 2 years ago, I joined as Chief Commercial Officer, and we are focusing on solving this specific problem, which is document automation in enterprises. So companies are receiving hundreds of thousands of documents per day in image formats, and these documents cannot be automatically processed. So they are spending globally trillions on this problem, where people are looking at documents, keying in data, doing some manual processing on the data, and humans make mistakes. So, for example, in the accounts payable space, which is paying out invoices, people make mistakes about 4% of the time. And these are important mistakes because people make double payments, or people pay for fraudulent invoices. And as a result, enterprises are wasting money. And when you are a supplier that has sent an invoice, when your payment hasn't come, when you are a patient that has sent a claim and your claim hasn't been paid, that's a horrible experience. And this dissatisfaction is a result of the slow manual document processing that companies are doing. And what we do is we bring deep learning into this process, achieving levels of automation that were not possible with rules-based systems. And we have been working on the problem, I mean, as a team, now it's been more than 6 years that the technology has been developed. We are the first company to use deep learning in document automation. And it has many applications. So accounts payable, paying out invoices, that's a big one. Travel and expense management, loan underwriting, in insurance claims handling. And what we provide is a high accuracy solution. So without configuring anything, you have a solution that works out of the box and at a high level of accuracy, at almost human level. And it's a domain-specific solution. So we automate not just capturing data, but we automate the end-to-end process. So in case of claims handling, for example, it is both getting the data from your claim, but also processing that data to identify how much to pay for that claim. It's a proven solution. We are working with 2 out of top 10 insurers globally. We are working with 20 enterprises in accounts payable, for example. And as a result, we are processing millions of documents and learning from these. We are now a team of about 50 people with 4 offices in Berlin, in Eastern Europe, in New York. And finally, we focus on fast integrations. With an API-first approach, we are able to create value fast for enterprises, which is also quite important for them, as no one likes slow implementation projects. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any detailed questions on things like data security, integration, or other topics. So thank you very much for giving me the chance. And yeah, looking forward to your comments and questions.
Thank you very much, Jim. Great pitch. So I would like to give right now the space to Ruth and Ashish. So Ruth, please, the stage is yours, and we are really excited for your feedback.
Always the first. Okay. So yeah, here the same. I was completely missing the business model, the market, the competition. I'm not going to say that every time, but yeah, still, if you do a startup pitch, give at least an idea how to make the big money with your model. I think since you have such a technical topic, I would also do a lot of restructuring actually about your explanations. I think you don't need more than 1 minute, 1.5 minutes to explain what you're actually doing. For example, you talked a lot before the pitch actually started. So just use one teaser, yeah, one sentence, and then start with the problem. You would already save 30 seconds just like that, because people were confused, I guess. I mean, I'm coming from the IT math side, and I was actually confused once in a while. Not saying that I'm the best mathematician that has ever been. I'm definitely not. But yeah, anyway, I think I know more from the topic than a lot of than maybe other people from like marketing area or so would understand. So I think they would have it even more. It would be even more complicated for them to follow you. Yeah. So I would also go here for a lot of for some more structure, and then definitely telling us more about the customers. I would like to know, for example, about your typical customer and what you would earn with your typical customer, so that I can kind of imagine how the money is flowing. Yeah, at some point, hopefully.
So this is a pitch for end users, not investors. So I guess that's why. I mean, we are more in the market of growing the business. So that's why. But I get your points completely. Yeah, for investors, many things were left in the dark, and great point on the beginning as well. Thank you.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much, Ruth. And thank you, Jem, for the great page. And I believe that even this feedback from the Ruth can be definitely really helpful for you in the future. And I wish you the best with all your startups with Hepatos. And right now, let's move to another founder. So thank you, Jem. Bye.
Thank you.
And right now, let's move to the Adam from the Mindware, who has prepared the great pitch for today. So Adam, the stage is yours. Yeah, Adam, you are mute, so you can just mic.
Perfect.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
good evening,
right.
everyone. I'm just gonna make sure that you see my presentation.
Yeah, everything working.
Yes, perfect. Let's start. Do you remember the good old days where broken things got fixed and not thrown away? I would like to start with a quote, which is basically said by every responsible debt out there. Don't throw it away, repair it. We at Mindware live by this quote and offer software as a service solution for smart maintenance. Old school service leads to more frequent breakdowns and eventually to a shorter life cycle of industrial machines and products. Mindware empower companies with data and the right tools to use their and our planet resources more responsibly. We believe that being sustainable doesn't need to cost you more money. On contrary, it can actually save you some. Stunning 50 billion euros cost manufacturers downtimes per year. Moreover, reacting on those downtimes, companies pay easily thousands of euros per technician on site support. Just imagine that your product, say, hydraulic brake, is used in a wind turbine in Tibet. And for some reason it stopped working, so you need support of your technician. Just take the cost of accommodation and flight ticket and multiply those by strict corona restriction. This isn't a random story. This is the story of our client Svenborg, who is a manufacturer of hydraulic brakes, and Mindware solved this issue for them. Now, what if I told you that there is a general tool solution that can prevent almost half of those downtimes and significantly speed up the recovery process? Mainver is basically a go-to tool for technicians as well as their managers. It is inspired by the daily management tools, offers up-to-date documentation in 2D, 3D, and augmented reality. At the end of the day, Mainver is industry-proven multi-platform solution available on tablet, desktop, phone, or smart glasses. What we did is we combined 20 years of experiences with the cutting-edge technologies of augmented reality and artificial intelligence to cover everything a modern maintenance needs. Mainver's ecosystem is therefore a set of 5 modules which reacts accurately on real-life challenges of our clients. When we're speaking about our clients, those are industrial leaders of all types: automotive, metals, machinery, processing technology. These clients were able to achieve some significant numbers, such as 40% increase in efficiency, increase in production, and overall swift ROI. And here, since we are on the event of Startup Disrupt, is really the important message, the most important part of my pitch. Mainver is backed up by JHB, which is leading Czech industrial automation company with over 20 years of experience in the field. So we basically build a tool by engineers for engineers. We are currently open for a strategic partner and investor to support our DACH expansion, especially with focus on sales. We are a team of industry experts and technology enthusiasts that are ready to make this happen. Moreover, we know that the time to act is now. On the wave of digitalization and transformation of the industry. Please don't take Mainver as just a tool to support remote work or help with transferring know-how. Mainver can actually help pass the whole know-how from one retiring generation to the younger one. So at the end of the day, Mainver simply transforms maintenance processes into the digital age. So hopefully let's meet and fix it together. Thank you.
Amazing, Adam. Thank you very much for a great pitch and for a great contribution to today's session. And right now, I would like to pass the words to Stefan, who will start, and then Ruth. So Stefan, the stage is yours.
Wait a second. I just have to stop the other computer. I hope it's off now, because I was watching the session on YouTube. So thank you so much. I think it was a great pitch, very clean slides. Yeah, also numbers presented really very well. And I thought you walked us through in very good steps, yeah, so that it was easy to follow and to see where you developed the story step by step.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. And now, Ruth, what do you think? I think that you are the great, I see that one of my colleagues actually shared with me, Ruth is ruthless. And I think, but this is really important to be really open, and really give the meaningful feedback, because I think that even for many founders, that one of the interesting point in their journey is that many people around themselves, because they like them, like the friends and family, they are not giving them the open, the true and honesty, in everything what they think could be helpful, because it could hurt them. But I think that this is really important to hear. So Ruth, what do you think about Adam and
Actually, besides from the elements missing, what I promise not to repeat anymore, but actually I don't know, I didn't have the information what was the framework of the pitch, so actually I don't know what you communicated to the founders, so let's leave it for the product presentation for now. I loved the first slide, I have to say. I would point the name of the company somewhere so that people already have it in mind. I didn't see it there. I loved it because it made me pay attention. Yeah. and I also like the clearness, the numbers, the pictures. It was very visual. I would put a little bit more of structure into it, especially when it comes to dividing between problem and solution, because that was a bit back and forth at points. Because you have so cool numbers, you could use them, especially in terms of sustainability, to make some drama at the beginning. You would have even more the attention of the audience, also of investors. Yeah, you could give some more, drama sauce into that at the beginning, so that you actually put people in a position where they say, okay, yeah, this is really annoying, this is really bad, someone has to do something against that, please do something against it. And then to say, hey, this is what we're doing, yeah, and it actually works. And then everybody would like, whoa, this is cool. Yeah, so I think there is, I already think it's cool what you're doing, but I think there's more potential to really blow people away that are listening to your pitch.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Maybe if I just can add, you know, if you are interested in numbers, we have amazing case study about how we save actually on an ecological, on a CO2 footprint. So happy to share it with you all.
Amazing. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Rose. Ashish, would you like to add something?
Sorry, I missed the first part, so but I'll go back and check it, and then of course I can share feedback offline.
Okay. Thank you, Ashish, and thank you, Adam, for your page, for that you actually literally on the last minute join us for this session. So thank you very much. I wish you the best on your expansion to DACH. And yeah, right now let's join for the last pitch. Thank you, Adam. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
And right now let's give a stage to Lita Mats with FinMarie and her pitch. So Lita, the stage is yours.
Great. I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully we will get the presentation here. So if you could give me an auditory yes, you can see it, that would be great.
Yeah, just you can do it as a full screen. Yeah, great.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I am the CPO, that's Chief Product Officer and co-founder of FinMarie. And what we're developing is essentially a scalable financial platform that is tailored to women's needs and makes financial education and investment safe, savvy, and social. So that's the short version. But one of the questions that we often get is this even a problem? Well, I'm going to introduce you to Anna. Anna is representative of some of our audience, and Anna is about 30 years old. She has a good job. She makes about $5,000 a month, but over the span of her career, she's going to earn about €1 million less than her partner due to pay and career gaps. She's going to get a lower pension. She's going to live 5 years longer, can we add? And, she probably has a lot in savings, but because she's not investing that money, she's going to be losing to inflation over time. And she feels overwhelmed. She's not in a good mental place to start moving that into investment, so she puts it off. A lot of women are in this place, actually. It's a 7.8 billion euro market potential in Europe. And we in this market are going to have competition, but I think the competition is not going to even cover that entire market at the moment. So what we are looking at is converting these savers into investors. And about 75% of the DACH market is saving and not investing. And turning women into investors requires an approach that we are familiar with. So FinMarie has actually been working bootstrapped for the last couple of years, looking at what are the barriers, what are the needs that women have. And now that we've gone through this discovery process, it's really time to scale. We've got this early evidence of product market fit. Is it the ultimate product market fit evidence that we need? No, but we already have 2.8 million in assets under management. We already have 54 paying customers in affiliate programs and 175 in the robo-advisor that we're running. We have 11 paying members in the community. We've got a lot of engaged members in our broader FinMarie community. And per customer, they're bringing in about 11,000 euros. The thing that we are building to scale next is this larger platform. Are these our final designs? No, these are what I did really quickly in Figma. But we're actually hiring a designer right now. I've just put out offers to a couple of developers, and this is part of the growth strategy that we have, which is a pretty aggressive growth strategy based on the seed funding that we are closing right now. So what we're planning to do is to really focus on advice and education in an application, both desktop and mobile, to push forward the network and support that women need to really feel comfortable in this environment, and then the social investment tools that are going to help gamify the process. The automated investment and comparison platform is really the basis of all this underneath. And what we find is that when women start investing, they tend to be very loyal customers. How are we going to do this, right? Well, we have what I would consider to be an incredibly strong team. So Caro, she's our numbers person. It's not me. Caro's been working at Deutsche Bank for 13 years in finance and banking. Rika just joined the team. She's been doing brand at Coca-Cola and Nivea, again, for 12 years. I'm embarrassed for how long that I've been in startups. It's almost 20 years by now. And I've been doing product for e-commerce companies, and in fact started a fintech. So this is not my first rodeo. We already have a lot of traction, and this is not traction that we have purchased in the media. It's just because the topic is really hot right now. So Caro has been featured in a ton of magazines, and we've done a lot of successful events, reaching thousands of women. The short-term growth strategy is obviously building and optimizing the product. That's what I'm working on every day. Rika is working on fast and efficient market scale. And I can talk about our short-term product roadmap, which is obviously building the team, developing this integrated backend, launching the app. But what's actually much more exciting, I think, is what we can do with personalization, data, and of course, recommendations later on. In marketing, of course, Rika has that deep background in brand building. And so she's really working on that and reach. What are the messages that really resonate with this audience? And then we convert, we scale, we use multiplication and upselling, and we get to what I think is going to be a great product and a great product opportunity. So I will stop sharing if I can here. And
sorry, guys, probably I lost the connection. Alita, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Wow. I think that this was actually why we were thinking how to put all your pitches, because of the men and women. And I think that one of the best was the last. So thank you very much. And right now, I would like to pass over to Ashish, Stefan, and Ruth for the final recommendations, questions, and feedbacks. So Ashish, what do you think? What would you like to share?
I think this is a topic which is very, very, very close to my heart, both from my experience as in the wealth management, as well as how I see in the environment right now. There's an extreme disparity, as you already pointed out. So very, very close topic to my heart. I think there's a huge potential. Also love the team. In fact, I think sometime back, maybe it's 5 or 6 months back, I remember my wife actually attended one of your events. So I think I knew about Mary a little bit before already. I think it's a wonderful product, or at least, the session was really good, very meaningful, the feedback that I have. I think in this pitch, what I'm trying to kind of, get around my head is 2 questions, basically. The first one is, what would you have done differently if it was a platform for everyone versus versus right now? So I think that's my.
I think one of the things we can look at right now is in the United States, LVest is doing something actually quite similar. And one of the things that I really like in what they are doing in targeting women is using the statistics that are specifically about women's lives and women's longevity to tune their investment algorithms. So obviously that's something that we can do. So it's not just the brand approach. I think there are also product decisions that we can make. One of the other things that I've been hearing in my user interviews is that women really like the support of other women, and they've been very attracted to the concept of influencers. So for example, seeing other women's portfolios, successful women who are already doing what they want to do. They want to see that as well. So there's, I think, a lot that you can really specially tune to this market, both in product and brand, and that's what we're going to focus on. Keep listening to people and making sure that we're tuning what we're doing into their needs.
Thank you. And I think maybe one more quick question. So would you be a robo-advisory in the end? Or would you be more of an education platform for women investors?
I mean, we're going to have to see where we go. My initial focus is, yes, we'll probably take a robo-advisory in-house. Right now, we're using a third party for that. And I think that we then have the opportunity to do some of that special algorithm tuning that I think would be a real advantage for us, both in IP and also we've seen with the LVest model in the United States that they have excellent performance, really. And the other part of what we need to understand and test is, are there other product-focused packages that we can create for women? So, for example, is it a diverse portfolio that includes, for example, investment in real estate in fractional amounts? Is it only ETFs, or can we approach other investment vehicles and include those in a package that makes sense for people and is simple?
Cool, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ashish. And Stefan, what do you think? What is your feedback and some recommendations for Lita?
I think first, Ashish already mentioned the technology part regarding the advisory, because that is the cost part. The second is how to make money, right? So the first, I saw that. I love the topic. Everybody loves the topic. As you can see, the media loves the topic too. Yep. It's hot. Yeah, just say it's hot, right? So, but you're not the only one who are on this topic and who has a hot topic. Yeah. And you mentioned one of your competitors in the US, which brings me back. Your platform, that platform only works with scale. Yeah. And it's brutally scale that is a make or break to be there a success or not. That is the first thing. So you will need a lot of marketing dollars to bring that further, or you have the coolest community ever here in Europe where it comes together, exactly. Right? So these are the two angles I see. There's one thing more I see. When you grow, an investor will ask how you make money, right? Because you're doing the best thing ever. You're doing the gender specific, the gender lens, and the good things, right? Nevertheless, they want to make some money. And then you have two ways with such a product. Yeah. Yep. One is fee-based. Yeah. That means membership or the participant fee-based, or a part of whatever they invest. That is one thing. Or the other thing is you go we had that with Dragon's Den, Höhle der Löwen, the typical Carsten Maschmeyer way. Yeah. You jump into a partnership with some people who have a valid interest that their products get sold, and you get fees from them. Yeah. You will like have affiliate. I don't say there's a way. I just say you will have to find your balance in between both, because the second way brings you more money. The first way is probably the longer, but the better when it comes to a community, and very likely more sustainable, right? The question is, I don't know how that will be accepted, but this is a product that is way over Germany, that can go for completely Europe, or has even potential to go global, right?
Yep.
It's just the hase and the eagle, the rabbit and the hedgehog. So you have to be a bit faster than the others. So, and I really love it. I wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. And right now, I would like to pass over to Rus. So the last feedback for the amazing founder, what would you like to say and share?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much. For me, it was clearly the best pitch today. Also because you brought much more content, I have to say. I was also missing the business model, but you gave a lot of numbers so that I actually already, when you give me the numbers of the volume that was actually invested with your platform, I already get a sense. Yeah, so I didn't actually miss that much than with the others, but of course with an investor you should give that. But also I think you're far enough to say that also some numbers about your marketing. I would be highly excited about knowing somehow like how it works. Where are the conversions best? You say it works with influencers. I would be so excited about those numbers, because if you have at least one good numbers in marketing, you should actually put it that big on a slide for investors.
True.
Yeah, and push it. And then I can basically have one big critique point with your pitch. You had 2 or 3 points where you got too negative. For me, a typical female thing, unfortunately, you have, for example, you said when you showed the design of the slide, and you say, oh, this is not the final one, we have a designer now. Actually, it looked good, and nobody would have realized, would have thought, oh, how does it look like? I think they do. And even if they can ask, okay, is that the final look, or are you working on it? And then you can say, no, this is just a draw. We're working on it, because actually for just a draw, it looks really good. So like really, go out there and flash them, right? You have a great topic, a big trend. So there is no need to hold back, and there's no place for negativity in a pitch at all. Yeah. So when you're pitching, you're the best, you have the coolest things, you have the coolest design or whatever, or you're gonna have the coolest design, even if it's not there right now. But you for sure you will get the best people, and you get the point. So there's really no need for any negatively connotated words. And it's a bit, I was almost a bit sad to hear that at this 2 or 3 points, because it brings it down a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's absolutely not necessary. I really liked the narrative in the beginning. When you said, okay, this is what we're doing in 2 sentences, that was super impressive. But then you said, and the question we get most is that. And I was like, actually, that was what I was thinking. So, and as the others said, I think then you should go more to the product and make it seem, as you said yourself, less seem as just a branding topic and more as a product topic. Yeah. Of course, the branding is the thing. Yeah, no, I'm not arguing against that, but it is much more interesting, especially for investors, if there's more behind it. And they think, well, when I heard your pitch, I had so many ideas and so many more questions I would like to ask you to go into.
We'd be happy to connect.
So super interesting, and I don't want to keep you for much longer. I think, well, of course, there are always some things to improve, but just get rid of the negativity, do a bit more product, a bit less brand, go over your numbers, maybe not all of the numbers, but the good ones really big or whatever. And I think you're almost there to have like a really high-end pitch already. So good luck with your funding round. I'm your fan anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rita, and I wish you all the successes which you are having ahead in your journey. And once more, thank
you
all
so
of
much.
you, Ashley, Stefan, and Ruth, for all of your time, because I know that we already exceeded, but thank you very much. And I believe that you really helped to those young, brave founders. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day, and hopefully see you in the following our events in Germany. So thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye. More
Thank you,
power.
Patrick. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
And I would like to as well invite all of you to our following activities in Germany, but as well in our other countries and markets, since we are not only based in Czech Republic and Hungary right now, but as well in Germany, but as well in Hungary, Poland, UK, and Turkey. And so we can't wait to share with you all our initiatives which we are having ahead. So right now, just stay innovative, stay sharp, and go your journey, and we are here to support you. So thank you guys, and see you on our next event. Bye.